present his experience about a particular item, particular procedure. And so I tag along because I come here on Sundays anyway. And there was something I already introduced to all of you. This great point of care or office diagnosis of Hpylori equipment, which is you can use it for kids. This I mean on the literature for 3 years onwards, anyone and any pregnancy only. What is the normal age? So it's fine. So I'll just say a few things. I was just reflecting 25 years back, about 25 years back when I was female here. Then around that time, Barry Marshall had discovered Hpylori a few years before that. And then they are Professor Basim, I was in his unit, and they started doing cases on detection of Hpylori. And that was endoscopy based. They used to make in-house solution. So main thing about Hpylori is number one, it is the most common human bacterial infection. Number one. In GIT, if you remember one thing, is Hpylori the commonest infection. Just for liver, you remember the NFL, liver FMS or whatever you want, the liver fat is a chronic liver disease. That's the most common. So there are two commonest affections for the GIT and the fatty liver for the liver. So the most common human infection, we know about 50% in India. That's one thing. So then it was discovered that Hpylori, when it infiltrates the mucosa, is not the liver, it infects the liver. That's why it's an infection. So it produces urease enzyme. There is no other thing in the human GIT system that produces urease. So they started endoscopic biopsies and just put them on an agar gel, and we just needed to see pH change, because once urea is broken down by urease, ammonia is produced, ammonia is alkaline, so it changes the color, and you see those, you must have seen those slides where people give additive also. That's how it was done. And they were making homegrown in the lab, they were making, that's how they started, they were doing it. Now those additive kits also are commercial. I think that we finished with that. So, okay. So then there are some antibodies and for Hpylori, and then the breath test, the urea breath test, is also based on the same principle. Because you ingest urea, and the urea is if somebody is infected with the Hpylori, the urea will break the urea, and then you will measure that broken in the carbon there in the breath. So that time earlier, there were couple of machines, 2, 3, 4, 5 machines using carbon 14. Carbon 12, as you know, is a natural carbon. Just 3 lines I want to say about it. All the carbon dioxide we are throwing out, and all the carbon in the human body, or in nature, in plants everywhere, is only 2 isotopes. Only 2 isotopes. 99% is 12 carbon and 1% is 13 carbon. The 13 carbon is a natural carbon, non-radioactive, and they're both natural, just 1% in the nature. So the one we use here. When they began, in the beginning they started using the 14 carbon. It is slightly radioactive. Not, I mean, they said the radioactivity is equivalent to background radiation, etc. minimum, but yes, it was there. So basically, it remained confined to research institute. I think PGI never saw that machine, or we never got that done. So perhaps, so it was scientifically solid, but it didn't catch on. So now we have this 13 carbon urea breath test. So obviously, so as you can simply have seen, first you blew into a bag. You don't need to be really fasting. They say if you're fasting for 1 hour, it's okay. You don't need. That's the most important point, because you're doing in office. Somebody walks in, 70-80% will not be fasting. So that it hampers the office diagnosis of honey test. Here it doesn't happen. You should be off PPIs and antibiotics for last 2 weeks. If you have taken them, then we'll give them H2 blockers and antacid and call them after 2 weeks. So that's the way to do it. So you blow it once. So that's the now that in that breath you will have 99% 12 carbon and 1% 13 carbon because that's natural. So whatever carbon dioxide will come out, so that will 12 carbon. So then you will, like in this in case, you are given just 75 milligram of 13 carbon urea, NH2, CO NH2 if you remember, that's urea. The carbon here is 13 carbon. Now if there is Hpylori, it breaks the urea and it will break, and obviously your 13C exhalation will increase. And the beauty of this test is this is actually uses spectrophotometry. Spectrophotometry to differentiate the C12 and C13, 13C and 14C, and gives actually a ratio. It's a ratio of 13C versus 12C. And I'll just show you one slide, just to emphasize this accuracy. Now, you can imagine with that kind of ratio, and it's at the molecular level. So it's very nearly impossible to get false positive, false negative. You cannot, nobody can throw out more 13C if somebody has not taken it. So if you more 13C, that means the Hpylori did. So that's the principle. I think that will be the same. And just to you were asking about various antibodies are not supposed to be used for this. If you keep on doing blood tests, just use this. That doesn't mean anything basically. So then the comparable test is fecal antigen test. It also has similar limitations of you should be off PPIs and antibiotics, etc. And it's a nuclear test, DNA-based RNA-based test. And the only problem is like you have to, it can't be done in the office. You have to get up take a fresh stool sample and rush to the lab, and then the report comes after 2 days, and then you know, yeah, I got the figure. And I mean, so it's not a point of care test. That is a great limitation of that. That's what it is. So just to, I think there's nothing much here. This is the equipment everybody has seen. I have demonstrated, and now these are some of the calculations I've done. I think it uses this is just to show. When you see the report, I will get a printout. This is because if ever you get it done, and this printout you will not be able to understand much. So that's the only thing. So this is what. So this is a pre-breath test. We have taken all pre-samples. So it will get the 12 carbon. This is 1.57. This is the figure. And this is 13 carbon dioxide. Baseline. I said 1% is always there. So this is in this patient. This is a patient which we did today. So this is a figure. You don't have to bother about this figure because this is multiplied by 1,000 for some reason. So it looks more, but it's not. So but then it gives you a ratio of 13 carbon to 12 carbon, and delta means the change in the CO2 at the baseline, 13 CO2, and after 15 minutes. What are the baseline? And this is post. At the post step, after 15 minutes you get the sample, then it will calculate your, you see, the baseline CO2, 12 CO2 is going to remain the same. You see, very close, 1.57, 1.57. The change will occur here. And this is molecular change, very little change. And this has been, the result comes as again a delta. So this is the change, delta which occurred in the second sample. And the final result you get is, this is delta 2, delta after the sample. And this is the delta at the baseline sample. Enough. So we don't have to do anything. That calculation just showed to, just to emphasize the accuracy. And then this